Hi everyone, my name is AJ. Welcome to the Money Store YouTube channel. I hope you've all been doing well. I've been doing good. Happy New Year to you all. I haven't uploaded here in a handful of months, but here on this channel, this channel is a sort of whiteboard, and and so far it has just always been about talking about La Luz del Mundo, the church and its present situation over the past 5 years approximately. And I've had this channel active for a little less than 3 years, I believe. But I want to continue to post here, and I don't want this channel to seem like it's something that's gone by the wayside. It's certainly on the back burner, but it is not totally abandoned and left up to nothing, because the situation with the church continues on to this present day. And today I'll be talking about a sort of visual tour of the church, talking about the numbers and the present state of the church in an abstract way, but still tied to certain pieces of evidence. And we'll get to that in a bit. I've done this sort of video before, and I said there could be potentially future installations of this sort of series, but before we get to that, we will discuss some housekeeping that I would like to put together. So in regards to La Luz del Mundo, I've been keeping up with the news naturally. The last major piece of news was back in October 2023, wherein Nason Joaquin Garcia was charged by the federal government for a handful of cases that were for a handful of charges that stemmed from the previous case. Um, that stemmed from the previous case. They weren't exactly pinned, and so this could add to the 16 years that he was sentenced to. For sure, he'll stay in jail for like over a decade, and the sort of reputation is tarnished, and the future of the organization is put into question in many ways. But I've been keeping up with all of that, and I haven't heard too much since I in this year. I think that would be a good point of discussion for the present year, is what is the most important piece of news so far. And I'm not too sure, but I would like to brainstorm with somebody, because again, like I've been saying, I feel like the last major piece of news was back in October. I've been keeping up with all of that, and I would like to continue to keep up with that even more. I'm uploading this to YouTube. There are a lot of other channels on YouTube that discuss this organization in various ways. Some of the directions in which I appreciate, and some other outlets I just can't keep up with. I feel like there's a lot of talk out there, and I just don't have the time for it all. And but yet, here I am, wanting to contribute, because I feel like there's not enough content on La Luz del Mundo in English on this platform. So I don't have any previous guests that I've had on here before. This is solo. I definitely do talk to the two previous people that I've spoken to, and we keep up every once in a while on what's going on with the organization. But yeah, there's no one here. If that and I bring that up because that was when I was last uploading, and that it seems to be what the sort of mode I was in which I would want to put something out into the world, is talking to a certain person and bouncing ideas off of each other, articulating things, and then uploading it to try to contribute to the um, the pool of information that is out there. And again, in English, no, there's not a lot of content out there in English. A lot of the major news is in English, but um, in another way, there's a lot more on the ground alternative content online, that alternative and adjacent content that is online, that is much more in Spanish these days. I feel. Anyways, that not to get off on a tangent, let's continue. So this channel certainly has a future. I'm open-minded about that, and it doesn't all necessarily have to be about La Luz del Mundo. I've certainly thought about uploading other things, other matters in regards to completely different interests of mine, but I haven't done that lately. For the past handful of months, I've been completing um, my dissertation in graduate school. It's a 300 page plus history dissertation on the 19th century relationship between Texas and Yucatan, in the early Mexican Republic, through to the Texas Revolution, up to the U.S.-Mexico War, um, and I try to bring it up to the U.S. Civil War, but I think I need to do a better better landing in regards to that. So that is, my major that has been my major responsibility for the past handful of months, and I have sort of landed that plane, and I want to start moving on to other things, which is why I haven't uploaded onto here. It's been a long time, but I'm glad to be on here um, discussing this stuff with you all. So in regards to that, I definitely have that to a nice stage that I really like it, and I would like to continue to work on that. But then at the same time, that sort of makes me, that sort of begets the question of what could be the next major project to do. And I've been flirting with and thinking about the idea of writing another book length written work on La Luz del Mundo, because I feel like for the past handful of years I've been that this is accumulated into the largest can of worms that I have, and I've accumulated so much information, and I've just sort of seen the sprawling of the information and discourse regarding the organization, and I've really appreciated that, and I want to sort of in many ways I want to continue to dwell on that, and this is my way of sort of soft launching the idea that I would like to write a book on La Luz del Mundo. The church is certainly has a very historical bent to it. It certainly has a way of approaching of approaching its own history and then approaching human history as a whole. It has certain ways of approaching those things, and none of those are sufficient to the outside reader. And I feel like this is a way in which we can. I feel like this is a place in which I can put together a story that can be agreeable and arguable with people that are within the organization, have that married, have that sort of history bent with and married to the history of a of that outsiders, very broadly speaking, would appreciate as well. The organization is nearing up on its 100th anniversary since its founding. Certainly, it's changed over time. Certainly, from the 1920s to the 1960s, it changed drastically and set the foundation for everything else. But it changed drastically in those first decades, and then from the early 1960s to the mid 2010s, it certainly changed a lot. It certainly changed a lot there too, and then from the mid 2010s to up to the present day, it has changed even much more. Um, I put this all together because I think it could be useful for myself to have this certain moment of brain dump and exercising and thinking and gathering sources and interrogating sources and discussing with having interviews with people and consultations with various figures. I feel like I could turn on a lot of gravity and have it snowball, and it could bring together a written work. It could bring something very large like that together that I would hope is of use to people outside the organization that may just want to read a lot on it, broadly speaking, and that could maybe also be of use to people that are in the church that can read this and maybe be flooded with a lot of information that could be disagreeable, arguable, overwhelming, etc. And later on, they might like it because it helped them get out, or it helped them rethink of the organization and the sort of ways it views itself, its history at large, the world, politics, etc. In certain ways, and eradicate that. I feel like the church is the La Luz del Mundo is such a interesting institution, a lot like other institutions, but yet it is still subject to the motions of history. And in certain ways, the past 5 years, a certain dam has broken, and I feel like doing a project like this could help to flood even more water down that dam or demand other dams to break. And we should demand a lot of our institutions, and the fact that the institution still continues and persists to a present day, it is formidable to whatever extent that it is, and it survives to whatever extent that it does. The numbers matter, but nevertheless, I ask myself, what does it mean that such a group can persist, such an institution can persist, have political ties in Mexico, have a certain history across the US-Mexico border, and have shaped the lives of so many thousands of people, and then has left so many millions and billions of people elsewhere in the earth unaffected and uninformed on this one institution. Yeah, all that means a lot, and I feel like it might be, at least now, I hope I'm not just saying it and bluffing and not, won't go through with it, but at least now I think it could be useful and interesting to put something together that is a written work that cites its sources, tries to be as clear, chronological as it can, not so obsessed with the theological, but more trying to be more anthropological and have a bird's eye sort of view of the whole history of the institution and its people, from the top down, from the ground up. There's so many points of view, and I'm only just one person that could try to put this together. But I think it'd be really interesting to put together. What else would I like to say? So far, as of what I've been speaking about for the past handful of minutes, I would say that I have written almost 15,000 words, certainly over a chapter's worth. This is about 50 pages, like double spaced, maybe more. It's several dozen pages. It's several dozen pages. While I write, I keep everything at single space, but typically when reading and reviewing in the editorial process, there's a having two spaces is the best for readers and for yourself. But anyways, I have several dozen pages of this stuff written, and right now it's a lot of brain dump. And I've reached out and made posts in certain ways to reach out to people, to asking them if they have any sources, any certain rare books, any sort of other unique items that could be of use, that could be citable, qualified, etc. That stuff can be very interesting to put together. So this is sort of headspace that I'm in, and again, this is my way of soft launching that I would like to write a book on La Luz del Mundo, and we'll see where it goes. That's not where we're talking about today. And if anything, I feel like we can even take less time now on the point of this video, so that the sort of spewing of information has been useful already. Okay, I've written a lot, and I'll continue to write more. I'll put it all together, and I will keep updates on this. I may upload another video formally discussing this, and we'll see what sort of help we can get. But the point of today's video is that I am going to start a PowerPoint share wherein we can. Okay, testing. All right, so this is a PowerPoint share. I call it the visual tour of La Luz del Mundo 2. So given everything that I've spoken about since I started the video, I started this video with the intention of showing these sort of images that have stuck out to me, that I want to sort of dissect really rather quickly here, and share with you all, and just upload this to the ether. The ether doesn't just belong to La Luz del Mundo and its future expansion. So these are images that I've been gathering while I've had this tab open, and as I've been opening a lot of other tabs and reading and just clipping certain images from different places on the web. This is a visual tour of La Luz del Mundo. My sort of stated intention and abstract for this is that there are members within the organization, and then there are people outside of it. I don't want it to feel as if we are seeing this, we're in the same movie theater and we're watching two different movies. We're watching the same movie, but we're just coming at it from different perspectives. And it is, just from my and a lot of other people's point of views. I will talk about those point of views. It is from a lot of people's point of views that the movie that we're watching is actually, we're sort of the right and more correct in the interpretations of it, rather than people that are inside of it who are trained to be by default apologists or otherwise. Yeah, let's move on. Shout out to many people that I've spoken to rather recently. I want to say that people have been sharing certain information and resources that they have, and I'm going to see to it that I read through everything that I can. I bring this up because these are two resources shared by somebody. I won't say their name, but I really appreciate them, and I will continue to speak to them. These are two resources that were shared by them, and I was really compelled to see that they had insofar as I can verify, actual physical evidence of La Luz del Mundo getting caught in lies and exaggerations. When Nason Joaquin was arrested in June 2019, the church leadership was saying that La Luz del Mundo was still 5 million members, that it was not affected by the arrest of its leader, that it continued to grow strong, that it would continue to grow. It has been almost 5 years since that infamous early June, since that summer. But here on the left, we have an image of a magazine page from 2003, wherein someone named Eliezer Gutierrez Avelar, which I believe, I'm not sure about the Avelar part, but Eliezer Gutierrez is presently the spokesperson of La Luz del Mundo as of the past handful of years, maybe not since 2019, but I believe a year or two after that, this person was determined to be the official spokesperson. Yeah, so back then, this person, you can probably read this is not the best rip of this image, but here he says, hay 200,000 almas que representan a 5 millones de fieles en el mundo. These are 200. He's talking about a Santa Cena. There are 200,000 souls that are representing 5 million people, 5 million faithful that are in the world. Again, this is 2003. This is almost 2 decades, 2 decades before the arrest of Nason Joaquin, and the church is claiming 5 million members, and add up 16 more years and get to 2019, and they're still sort of saying that there's 5 million members. There's not 5 million members by any stretch of the imagination. These people are the ones stretching their imaginations and asking you to stretch yours as well. But in using one's common sense, which if we believe the 200,000 souls that gathered in the church for that event, that can sound reasonable. But nevertheless, there's the blatant fact that the majority of the people in the world did not attend and could not attend. And yet, that's 2003. This slide is badly organized, and I'm presenting it badly because right here on the right is another page from another magazine from August 1994, wherein a decade earlier from the image on the left, what I was just talking about now. The church is claiming to have 5 million members around around the world, and in the Mexican Republic there are 200,000, and the numbers don't add up. I've done a video like this before wherein I discuss the supposed 5 million members of La Luz del Mundo. I present this in a different approach and sort of abstract way of discussing this, the role of the growth of the church. And this was a year prior. This was 11 months prior to the conviction of Nason Joaquin. And the church continues to persist, but it is also on the downfall, and it is kind of blatant in certain ways. In terms of its online internet presence, did you know that LLDM.com is for sale? This large organization that supposedly had 5 million members back in 2019, and then according to these sources, also in 2003, and then also in 1994, it has apparently had 5 million members the entire time. How is it that such an organization is so large and continues to persist, doesn't have the money to buy the domain here that is under $10,000, and then of course it would cost some amount every month, or at whatever regularity. It would cost some amount to maintain the website, design it, etc. This organization doesn't have the spare money for this. The Joaquin family may have the spare money for this, but what's going on here? That's my question. Here's another thing, laluzamundo.com spelled out, not just the initials. Laluzamundo.com doesn't lead to anything. It's frozen. It's not an actual website. It's not purchased. The domain is not purchased. This small organization that claims to be very, very large and yet still kind of small doesn't exactly have the funds for this stuff. LLDMHouston.com is up for sale, $4,000. And then, of course, you would have to pay however much to stay subscribed and to maintain the website. But nevertheless, some very rich troll could buy these websites, fill it up with whatever information that they want, and distribute those websites in a certain way with the veil that it is official LLDM content online. But here, but so be it. That is not what's going on. These are screenshots of Google Trends, which this is probably like the first time I've ever actually used it. I'm aware of it. I bring it up here because I decided to use it, and it has a certain scale for interest over time. And it is not exactly like number of searches that have been going on with regards to the church at any point in time, like an exact number, like this many thousand on this many day, or like this many hundred on this many on this certain week, or anything like that. I'm not exactly very well versed in explaining how how Google Trends works. I'm not well versed in that, but still, nevertheless, I decided to look it up. These are screenshots of its popularity, and this is a certain way of looking at it. Wherein back in here in this image on the left, there's a blue dot next to the 100 that rates the interest over time. Around the time that Nason Joaquin was arrested, the peak is gigantic. The peak is very gigantic. It was such a it was a boom. It was such a boom, and without getting into the nitty gritty here, you sort of see the dip over time, and then there are these other peaks that go on. And in this slide, and then in the next slide, I will discuss what those are. So there is that one initial peak there on the left of the chart. And then there's a natural large dip. Then there's another spike. This spike is in mid-June, when the bail hearings reach up, when the bail hearings with Nason Joaquin, just 1 month and a half into his arrest, reached the point where bail is denied to him. There's another spike on this chart. That is when bail is not spiked back up, but that is when there are motions from his attorneys in August 2019. So again, that's sort of why I'm showing this. I think these are very interesting things to look at. Again, there is like a giant interest in this. The moment that he is arrested, then there are these other spikes that come at certain points where La Luz del Mundo is clearly not winning, where Nason Joaquin is clearly not winning, and the reputation is just not on the up and up. Here is another slide wherein on this top chart, the part with the blue dot towards the middle that has a box that is used to indicate a spike in an early part of June in 2022, which is when the plea deal was made. He decided to plead guilty to certain charges, and there was the sentencing hearing, and there was the streaming of the victim impact statements, and a very powerful moment. And yet that spike only goes insofar as it goes upwards, but it is still comparable to all these other spikes in this certain digital online presence history of the church. Yeah, that is very important. So this next part that I want to highlight is December 25th to December 31st, 2022. This is 6 months after the conviction, after the sentencing in the summer of 2022. And I bring this up because this is when the first major documentary comes out, that one of HBO, and that generated as much buzz as it did. And there have been other documentaries, that I will show here. And there's so, and again, like there's so many podcasts and YouTube channels and other forums of discussion of this stuff that have been going on. And I bring all these up because, according to Google and according to whatever bird's eye view of internet searches this is, These are the trends that we've been seeing so far. Here's a quick look of Nason Joaquin Garcia's chart. What's very interesting here is that going from 2004, he is not at the position that he is at 2010. He is not. Prior to where it says 2016, there is a spike there, but that spike is just so minimal, and it's a blip. It's a sort of hiccup. No, it's not a hiccup there, but it's a sort of blip. Continue on to where the actual spike is. It is between 2016 and 2022. This, of course, is the summer of 2019. This is at the arrest, bail hearings that follow afterwards, certain initial attorneys, changes in attorneys, appeals here, appeals there, etc. January, it says so, and then look at January 1st, 2022. That spike right behind that. That is going to be the summer of June 2022, wherein he's convicted, he is sentenced. That is a giant spike, not as big as the first one, of course, and it's interesting to think about, but nevertheless, here are these other spikes, and those are all, again, spikes of interest into this person, this organization, etc., this institution, and they're all negative, and this does not bode well, is the point that I'm trying to make. This is sort of standard. Everyone who's in this discussion has Googled the organization. Maybe not members, but members, of course, should be able to Google their own organization and see that there is that it is not easy to escape the criticisms and the actual damning kryptonite that is held up to the institution. Here's another look at what could be expected of a Google search. Here are various images of promotional images of documentaries unveiled, which is that spike that I was discussing. It is, I feel like so much of this is really fantastic content, and I think should be viewed in succession, in conversation with one another. But yeah, with HBO coming out with its first, and they really set a bar that was really high, that was really good, and I feel like even subsequent ones, let's not even talk about clearing the bar, but come close to it, and very respectably do put the story together quite well. I feel like I did not have many qualms or many reservations with what I was presented here. And I will be certainly reviewing this in the future, but I just wanted to put this all together for everybody, and then also to say that given everything that I've talked about and everything that I've discussed on this channel as a whole, I want to say that there's so much other work that other people are doing that I don't even necessarily know or talk to on a daily basis, but they've done so much for bringing attention to this and bringing the situation to a better conclusion than it could be left off at. I really appreciate all of that, and I will be reaching out to as many people as I can, and try to bring a story together here that can be different from this, where this is from certain organizations, and these aren't this one thing doesn't start or come from an organization that is, or some sort of creator that is necessarily out inside the church. I think it would be helpful to have something that is not audio visual and that is instead text, laid out, sprawled out for accessibility, hopefully. Yeah, all this stuff has really contributed a lot, and HBO in particular has left the door open to the fact that they may do more seasons of Unveiled, and I look forward to that if that will happen. Nason Joaquin continues to have his civil cases go on, certainly more than one. There's a federal case. There's other sort of judicial legal troubles that the church is in, and we'll see what comes of those. And that is what the previous media is contingent on. It is the progress of time, and as more information comes to light. And speaking of light, these are some screenshots that I gathered from Twitter. Major accounts of La Luz del Mundo. The numbers are feeble, are very embarrassing. It's not a lot. This church does not have 5 million members, and if so, a lot of people would be active on the internet, and a lot of people would be interacting with these places, and if they are that dedicated to the organization, this is a cap. This sort of shows a limit to them. Again, this is weak. These are two screenshots of Eliezer Gutierrez and Silem Garcia Peña, the former spokesperson of the church on the right, and then the present spokesperson here on the left. They have their numbers. They have their numbers to whatever extent they do, and not all members in the church, if there were 5 million members, would be present on Twitter. But these numbers are weak. These people aren't exactly as big as they are. This organization is not as big and as powerful as it says it is. These are the most formidable numbers that one can find on social media. This is the Facebook page of La Luz del Mundo with 253K followers, a quarter of a million people. And then here we have a 1/5 of a million people having given this page a like over time. It's not very impressive here. We should be, just very honest that this is not impressive. And, we haven't exactly gotten to certain images. These are just screenshots of the online presence. This is the website of La Luz del Mundo in English, TLOTW.org, the light of the world, the initials of that, .org. LLDM.org is I believe the actual name of the website for the organization, but they don't own the other domains. And I'm not saying that every organization, every small business, everything should be very adamant about its online presence and not being framed by bad actors. But nevertheless, LLDM.org is the main website, and that website is whatever it is. But here, the English equivalent, the light of the world.org, TLOTW.org, is not impressive. That there's pages here that are just kind of empty with just like empty code. Clearly it's not glitches. These are just like neglected internet pages that aren't broadcasting these like triumphs of the organization. You can go to the editorials page here, and there's just more like blatant text, and not blatant text, but just bare preposterous internet glitch text that just reads epic block compatible column notice, etc. post. This is just leftover code that is unused and that is trashy on the website. This is some sort of, why did I include this here? This is an image of a bulletin of images of the church. They're discussing 500,000 congregants from all states of the Mexican Republic gathering together. And this isn't, the numbers aren't 5 million, and one can wonder what'll actually come. What one wonders when the organization will actually come out with charts and proof, or even just the guts to say that we have actually grown to 6 million at this point. We've actually grown to 8, etc. The church has been claiming large numbers for a very long time, and never have they been true. I'd put a lot of money into betting that the church is actually for sure under 1 million people, for sure only hundreds of thousands of people. And even then, we'll see. This is the church certainly continues to have its presence, and its presence known in certain ways, but it's also just weak because in a lot of the advertisements for certain events like the Santa Cena, the most important one, the image of Nason is not plastered everywhere where the public will see it, where in private and in close circles of LLDM members will see that sort of stuff is plastered with the image of Nason. And so, the organization is at a weird conundrum where they have to talk about him all the time, but they actually can't in certain ways. This is the holy, for some reason, someone made a holy supper page of the light of the world, and the page is feeble. There's only like 400 followers here. It doesn't have too many posts. It advertises a certain event that happened, was recent, and members aren't supposed to be on social media to begin with, but yet here the organization is, trying to advertise themselves and make themselves not seem so bad, but they seem bad. If you know what the numbers are and if you know how to count, it takes a lot longer to count to 5 million than it takes to count to 437. These are images that I've been uh, gathering from online, and what am I trying to show? I am trying to show in this front image that the initials of NJG just continue to be plastered at the center of the church. But when it comes to certain promotional material, the website of the church, pamphlets, other video, audio that is distributed from them, Nason is not in the spotlight in the way that he should be, or supposed to be. As for this other image in the back, um, I I overlap this other one here and have this one in the back here because over on the side, on the right on the wall, it says in the top right of the image, it says Nason Joaquin's name. And again, it's a very blatant um, attempt to launder this person in their reputation, etc., what they mean in a certain way, and then sort of also keep him out of the discussion in regards to these organizations. Here we have images of a recent Santa Cena in California. These are just crowd images. These are just certain heads, the backs of people turned to the camera. There is an N in the back in the center of the stage. There's an N that sort of makes up the columns there of the main pulpit. You don't see a pulpit for Nason himself. Because of course he's not there. He's in jail, just a couple miles away, however many miles away from Ontario, California. But that flame is stylized and shaped like an N for a reason. Those columns there at the pulpit are shaped like an N for a reason. And I bring this up because this is one of the main events in the organization. This certainly won't be, that this may be for some of these people in this crowd, it may be their only opportunity to attend such an event, which is very important within the church. For me, and maybe for other people in this crowd, this is their second La Santa Cena that they're doing for the year. But the point is that there's only a handful of these that happen around the world every year so far. And the way in which they do them is changing. But nevertheless, the fact that they could only present this many people is not impressive. It may look impressive. There may be a lot of colors and it may be nice to look at and propagandistic, if you're within the organization and they're going to take it that way. But if you look at this is actually just like a high school, a college football game. This is just a local major sports event. And it's still not that impressive. There's not a lot of people here, but they persist and they continue to be here. And they had a ticket to get in there. They had a credential that they had to buy. They had travel that they had to do, bookings of their vacation days, etc. Their organization to persist. But again, I don't want people to feel like we're in the same movie theater and watching two different movies. It is actually that this is the actual one way of interpreting what this actually means and why this exists and why the organization emphasizes this kind of stuff and doesn't talk so much about the 5 million member claim that it has been peddling for like 3 decades at this point. Here's another image, Toyota Arena. Again, let it be as impressive as it is. It is not that impressive. This is a stadium. This isn't a La Luz del Mundo church. Here's some other images of preparations, I guess, of the empty stuff. You can count the seats. It's not a lot of there's not a lot of action going on here. These are images of an event that was held outside of a major arena in Houston. This is the building in the back is called the George R. Brown Convention Center in downtown Houston. This is from the summer of 2019. I found these images online. La Luz del Mundo had a certain event where they gathered outside of this church. Well, where they gathered outside on the lawn of the convention center, and they held like a certain church event there. Here they have some images of large like plasterboards of images of the apostle and of Nason, Joaquin, and other images of brothers. There for other people to see. They want you to see these things. They want you to feel like this is a very important organization, that the aesthetics are important to them, the perception of them being large and expanding and worldly and cosmopolitan and inclusive and on the up and up, and never experiencing defeats here nor there. Um, they want you to think these things, but think through this stuff. That there's not a lot of people left in this organization, and um, aesthetics matter to them, and they don't let them pee on your leg and tell you that it's raining. Don't let them misconstrue how suggestible you are. Um, Here is an image of the inside of the Houston temple of La Luz del Mundo. Houston temple. This is before Nason Joaquin became part of before he came to the throne. So this, and because it has 50s, that the number 50 here decoration, this must signify the anniversary of Samuel Joaquin's Samuel Joaquin being the apostle. So this must have been this was for sure an image from 2014. And I bring this up because, even back then, the initials of the guy are plastered in different places of the temple. The temple is so there's a certain space in the temple that is reserved solely for him, and he may only use it one day out of the year, but it is reserved there for him. And then the apostle and the organization are not divorceable. That they're very important. This is what that same temple looks like in the present day. Certainly decorated differently. It has this new iconography of the N with the flame. It has this recent mantra of Santidad a Jesucristo, sanctity to Christ, there. But again, nevertheless, if play Where's Waldo, and you'll find the iconography of Nason Joaquin that is very there, present, and yet very absent in other ways, in outside facing ways. This is another image of the inside of the temple, I guess, as it looks today, and there is still that sort of iconography there. Yeah. This is an image that I found online. It is blurry here to some extent. I can't say what year it is from, but it is certainly since Nathan came to the throne, because it has his name plastered on top of some columns there in the center of the church, which is, look at the top right corner of the image. I bring this here because there's these other images within here of that are images of other temples. Here, like images of them very large, over 10 feet tall, and probably over more than 10 feet wide, showing different temples around the world that the church has constructed, that the members have constructed. But again, don't let these glamorous images and these images of these temples, this advertising of this stuff, like fool you into thinking that this church is much larger than it is. The media has the issue of sometimes regurgitating. Certain media outlets have sometimes the tendency to regurgitate the fact that the claim that La Luz del Mundo has 5 million members, but it certainly does not. And with just some scrutiny of what I presented here, I hope that you can think of the fact that this organization is not as large as it is, and that also means that there's a lot of space to reclaim from them. There's a lot more surface area on the narrative, whatever narrative, any narratives to grasp onto for people that have left the organization and that want to have a say into what it actually was. That now is the time that is most ripe for this sort of dynamic to continue to push on the organization. And here's that is sort of the point of what I wanted to discuss in this video, and in this half of the video, and in the previous half that I was discussing stuff. Here's another image of people that are being shown again, a bunch of other images in Ontario, California, in this recent event earlier this year. Let them show you as many images as they want. You probably can't remember every person that you're ever going to see in every image, of course, but nevertheless, they're not showing you charts. They're not showing you Excel spreadsheets. They're not showing you several stadiums compacted all at once across the world, to commemorate the same holiday. They're not showing you all the 5 million people all together at once. The numbers are dwindling. Start betting your money on when this organization is going to say that they have 6 million members, that they've reached 7 million members, etc. And that is the end of this video. I'm going to stop the share. Thank you everyone for this. I hope that this hasn't been too ranty. I hope that this is useful. I hope that you guys will share your good ideas and recommendations and other ideas for the intentions that I should have on this channel. I'll probably make another video in which I discuss the topic that I discussed in the first half of this video. I'm glad that I could get that out there. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, talk to me, email me. I will include an email and maybe other pointers on in the description of this video. I hope that you'll reach out to me and let me know what you think. Take care, everyone. I'm going to go eat and I'm going to go watch hopefully some basketball later today. I hope you all have a good day. Let me know what you think and take good care. Bye, everyone.